It is my pleasure right now to introduce a champion gymnast and a champion human being. Allie Raisman is a three-time Olympic gold medalist. She is a Needham native. She is an advocate for fellow survivors of sexual abuse and an advocate for body positivity. And she and I share the same birthday, although I'm just a little bit older than she is. Allie, it's great to be with you.
Thank you so much for having me on. Happy late birthday.
Exactly, fellow Geminis here. It's
Yeah.
like they 4 for 2.
Yeah. How was your birthday?
It was great. How was yours?
It was good. It was great.
We had COVID birthdays, so they were different birthdays, but there's plenty to celebrate, right?
Yes, definitely.
So I want to ask you, when I look back at your career, which is so incredible, and I look at the video from the 2012 Olympics and the 2016 Olympics, all of those things stand out to me. But I'm curious, what stands out for you as some of the eye-opening, pivotal moments that you believe led to your success?
That's a great question. I've done a lot of self-reflection over the last couple of months, and I would say the last year. I think it was just what really comes to mind is nothing happened overnight. It was just so much hard work. And I think that can be relatable to so many things in my everyday life outside of the sport, where if I'm fighting for change, unfortunately things don't happen overnight. So I just remember what really stands out is a lot of the hard work that I put into it and just the ups and downs. And even though the downs are very difficult and frustrating, and sometimes it feels like you're never going to get out of it, it made me into the person that I am today. So I'm trying to learn to not only embrace the good moments and the special moments, but also working on appreciating those tougher moments, which is definitely easier said than done.
But it builds the resilience that you need in life.
Definitely. And I
Allie,
think, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to ask, in that time when you were, working through things that at a pretty young age, who were your role models then and who are your role models now?
I loved the 1996 women's Olympic gymnastics team. I had every single score memorized. I would watch them all the time. My grandfather had recorded the VHS tape, which a lot of little kids don't even know what that is anymore. And my mom found it one day, put it in the TV. I was only 2 years old when they competed, but I was 8 years old when she found it, and she didn't realize how much it would totally change my life. I would watch it all the time. And then Lilia Podkapayeva was just my absolute favorite gymnast. She was from Ukraine, and I just watch her all the time. She won floor, she won the all around, and of course the American gymnasts. They were so strong and so just powerful, and it just everything that I wanted to be. Yeah, it's the special thing I think about being a young kid is that it's like any dream is possible, and so I just watched them, and I just knew I wanted to go to the Olympics, but I had no idea how hard it would be to get there.
And now knowing that little girls are looking up to you, they're saying that you are their role model. How does that feel for you?
It's hard to put into words, and I think I'm trying to, I guess, reflect on that and just let that sink in. But it is very, very special. And it's hard to describe because it means the world to me. And I remember being that little 8-year-old girl that just wanted to be just like them. And so when I see little kids, when they come up to me, it means so much to me. And I really try to be as authentic as I can and to be really real. And I just want, these kids who look up to me to know that, if they go through a hard time in life, that they're going to get out of it. And everybody, no matter who it is in life, everyone goes through hard times. And, it's, yeah, it's hard. I think that the world that we live in, I think what's so amazing right now is that so many people have been sharing their stories and being so honest. And I think that has helped people feel less alone. But I'm inspired by, the people that I meet, the younger generation. I think they're just incredible. So I feel like I'm inspired by them when I meet them, just because they're so joyful and so loving and so sweet.
Well, and you talked about authenticity and you shared a very painful truth about the abuse and about the adults who didn't protect you in your sport. And I think in doing that, you made it possible for so many other people to feel that they could also share something that had been painful and that they had been hiding for so long. You talked about the arc of change and that things don't change overnight, but you are doing concrete things to change the future for young athletes. Can you talk about some of those things?
Thank you. That's very nice of you. I think that what I've learned is that I can, continue to push for change, until I'm blue in the face. But I think what I've learned is that I really have to, it has to start with me, with taking care of myself, because as I said, nothing changes overnight. And I've met so many incredible people, whether or not they are someone in the spotlight or not. I mean, I think everybody can have such a profound impact. And I think one of the most important things is recognizing you have to take care of yourself, and you have to take that time for yourself. So I've really learned that, and that can be hard because I want to help as much as I can, but um I think that I just felt so lucky that so many people were so supportive, and I realized that when I shared my story, so many people unfortunately could relate to what happened to me, not just in the gymnastics world, really anywhere. I'll have, a male CEO tell me that they're a survivor of child sexual abuse, or I'll have, somebody at the grocery store who's 70 years old that says you're the only person I've ever told. So I realized that so many people are suffering in silence. And so, one of the things that I'm doing that I'm really excited about is I have a show coming out with Lifetime. We're actually, we have barely started filming it because things got delayed with COVID, but I'm very, very excited about the opportunity. It's helping survivors heal. And, the media goes into a lot of graphic detail when they're telling survivor stories. And so I want to show that you don't need the graphic detail in order to create change. And oftentimes, for me, especially, going into graphic detail is so traumatic, and even hearing about someone else's graphic detail, it's too traumatizing for me. I can't handle it. So I just want to show people, whether you're a survivor of sexual abuse or not, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And healing isn't one size fits all. Suffering from trauma, it's not something that you just suffer in the moment. Unfortunately, it tends to carry on with you for a long time. So I just want to give people tools and resources to get help. And through that show, I want to also educate so we can prevent it, and we can empower people to speak up if they feel comfortable, and to look out for other people. And I also have partnered with Darkness to Light, and I've been partnered with them for a couple of years now. We provide the training for free. If you type in the code Flip the Switch, it's a course for adults to prevent child sexual abuse, because we can't expect the children to be able to understand if something bad is happening to them unless the adult is educated. So I'm trying to get as many adults to do it as possible.
Well, you know what? That is a perfect segue, because the last time you and I talked was at Eastern Bank when you became a partner for good, and we
Mhm.
talked about Darkness to Light. What I didn't realize is that it is a 2-hour program, that
Mhm.
in the span of 2 hours, I mean, so many of these big societal problems um, are so vast that we feel almost powerless. But to spend 2 hours learning what you can do as an adult is incredibly empowering. What to look for, and ultimately how you can prevent this from happening. I have to think, when you partnered with Eastern Bank and got the word out in that forum, that a lot more people were able to take that program or became aware of the program.
Mhm. Definitely, 100%. That was something that Darkness Light and I talked about. Was we were so impressed by that day. So many people were taking the training, which is amazing. And Eastern Bank has actually provided it for their staff as well, which is incredible. And the more that we're talking about it, I think the more awareness, which is really, really important. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of times when children are being abused, they're not even aware that something bad is happening, because about 90% of the time abuse occurs, it's actually with a trusted adult. And unfortunately, a good amount of that is actually within the family, which is very, very disturbing. But so this way, partnering with them, I've learned so much from Darkness to Light. I obviously have taken the course, and I'm still trying to learn more as I feel so lucky to have the platform to talk and to, even if someone is listening to this, that they can get one thing from this that they can share with their child, or just something for them to keep in their mind. It's so important to me. But just a couple of the warning signs of a predator is, if a adult is trying to get a lot of alone time with a child, if the adult is giving, the child a lot of gifts, or kind of, has a favorite child, if they're taking a lot of photos of kids, even if the photos are, and even if the children are fully clothed, if it seems like, if something doesn't seem right, what I've learned is it's probably not right, and it's okay, and it's important to look into it. Um, and of course, having that conversation with your kids about, if they feel uncomfortable, or somebody doesn't feel right, or they have any questions, is extremely important. But I really recommend people take it. As you said, it's only 2 hours, so you could take the course 15 minutes one day, 15 minutes the next, and really break it up if you don't have all that time in one day.
Yeah, it's such good concrete information. I'm curious because you decided you were not going to go for the 2020 Olympics, which are now the 2021 Olympics. But lift the veil a little bit for us. Give us some sense what it would be like to be an Olympian right now who has put in all the physical work and the emotional work only to have to delay your ability to compete. Like, what's happening for these athletes right now?
I've talked to a couple of the gymnasts, and I've thought about it a lot myself. And to be honest, if the 2016 Olympics were postponed another year, I honestly don't know if I would have survived training another year, just because by the time the 2016 Olympics happened, I just was very burnt out, and I feel like I was able to do it for, the Olympics, and then I couldn't do it anymore. And I think it's a combination of many things. Of course, the mental aspect of it, of thinking in your mind, I need to peak at this time, and then you're working so hard for it, because it's not something you just start ramping up, a few weeks before. You're thinking about it, really, really years and years before. But especially as soon as that calendar year turns, January 1st, 2020, you're really starting to make the plans with your coaches. And so I just think that the mental aspect of, I have a whole other, over a year of this is very, I think, overwhelming, because it's the year of the Olympics. You push yourself so much. So I think they've already been pushing themselves so much that I'm sure they're just, when the Olympics happens, it's this incredible thing. But of course, you've been pushing yourself so far that you also look forward at the end to have a little bit of break or a time off. And I know some of the gymnasts were actually supposed to go to college, so I think they're deferring a year. And then, of course, you have people who are struggling financially, or maybe they can't afford to train for another year. So there's so many different components to it, besides just the physical part of it, where maybe they feel healthy now, but maybe next year it's they get injured. So I think it's hard to for me to say, because I think everyone's situation is so different. But of course, for the gymnasts that they can't afford it, or their families can't afford it, or they're relying on something, and that got pushed back, or got canceled because of COVID, it's very it's hard. And then you think about all the people in Tokyo and all over the world who were working so hard, and maybe financially they were relying on the Olympics being this summer. So there's so many factors to it, and I want to make sure I'm being sensitive to not just the athletes, but the coaches and the families, and all the people who are not training or competing, but are work so hard to make the whole thing possible, that I'm just thinking about them. I hope that they're doing okay. And if their job was supposed to be for that, and now they don't have a job, it's very devastating. I mean, I think COVID has devastated so many people. It's really it's crazy.
I was going to ask you, do you think that, you talked a few minutes ago about, the hard work that you put in as a gymnast, and the way that prepared you for life. In some ways, does it also prepare you for the completely unexpected challenge that is this COVID year for 2020? I mean, you have to take a long view with this. And I would imagine, as an athlete who's used to putting in incredible amounts of work over time, you can play this mental game better than a lot of people can.
I want to be very sensitive with how I answer that question, because I recognize, thankfully I'm healthy, thankfully my family is healthy, and so far everyone I know a few people that have gotten sick, but they've been able to recover, and I'm okay financially. So I think that what I've really been just trying to spend this time is really educating myself, and recognizing how, I guess if you could say anything I'm taking from gymnastics, is using that determination and focus to figure out how I can help. Because, taking this time to realize how lucky I am, and taking the time that I have at home now of how can I have an impact, and how can I help people that are struggling, that are really sick, or are struggling financially, or even the people that, unfortunately, the rates of abuse have gone up so much, because, as I said, a lot of abuse unfortunately can take place in a home. And so really figuring out how I can spread the word and help people that are stuck at home. Because for me, I'm lucky, my home is a safe place, but for other people, their home is not a safe place. So it can be really difficult that we're all staying home to be safe, but some people, they're being abused in their home. And so, for me, it was trying to figure out, spreading the word of, a certain number that you could text if you're being abused, because if your abuser's in the other room, it's too hard to call. So if anybody knows anybody, or suspects anything, or wants to report their own abuse, you can go to the Darkness to Light website, and they have all different information. And Darkness to Light also launched another program specifically during COVID to help educate and prevent abuse. And I also want to add, I think what I've learned just from talking to a lot of people is a lot of people are afraid to report abuse if they're unsure. And I don't know if this helps at all, but if you make a report about someone that you suspect is an abuser and they're not an abuser, you will not get in trouble. Nothing will happen. So I do believe that it's really important. If you feel like something's not right, go with your gut. A lot of times, I believe our gut is there for a reason. And if you feel like something is off, it's important to make a report, and to protect whoever you feel is being hurt.
What does self-care look like for you now? You mentioned how important that is to being able to do all it is you want to do. What are the ways that you set time aside for yourself or care for yourself?
I feel like I'm still learning. I really love gardening a lot. That has been very therapeutic for me. And I think the idea of, planting a seed and watching it slowly grow has really taught me patience. And I think it's been really helpful during this time. I think that the state of our world right now is really scary, and it's completely devastating. And there's so much pain that I think it's really hard to feel some days hopeful, because you see so many people are dying, people are suffering, people are struggling financially, people don't know when their next meal is coming, people don't feel safe. And so I just am trying to remember, because as I said, I'm a very empathetic person. I want to help other people. It's like when you travel, they say you have to put your mask on before helping other people. There are certain things I do, like a guided meditation, or, I think even sometimes calling one of my girlfriends and laughing over FaceTime is really important, or even just putting on a YouTube dance video and I'll copy that dance. Sometimes just dancing and having fun. If I feel like a little bit off, or, yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to, these are depressing times, not a little bit. These are very depressing times. They're very scary, that just kind of forcing myself to dance and move my body, and feel good is really, really helpful. But, self-care isn't one size fits all, even writing in a journal. But I also, you know, feel like having that compassion, and for yourself, and recognizing that, I think a lot of people are going through a hard time. And I think it's, I think about it, if I was feeling super happy every day, I don't think, that wouldn't feel right to me, because there's so much going on. And so I think it's just a balance of taking care of myself, and then focusing on what I can do to educate myself, to listen, and to then put into action of how I can help.
You are such a thoughtful person. And we only have a couple minutes left, but I do want to ask about this. You wrote a letter to your 8-year-old self, and you talked about the importance of having dreams. What is your dream now?
That's a that's an interesting question. Uh, you know, I think for me personally, on a very, very personal level, not the public person, I think on a personal level is just really figuring out who I am, outside of the Allie Raisman that people see on TV or doing gymnastics, and just being able to just have fun with my friends and living the life that I truly want. And then I think on a public level, continuing to help amplifying other people's voices, because I feel so lucky that I'm being heard, and I recognize that that's not how a lot of people feel. So I really want to continue to do that, continue to educate myself, and to continue to um, you know really learn from other people. I think one of the most important ways to learn is by listening to other people's experiences. And so, I am 26 years old. And so I'm hopeful that I will continue. I have a long life, hopefully, ahead of me, and I can do a lot of things. Of course, in the gymnastics world, I really want to create a place where every single type of abuse prevention is actually mandatory for every single person that comes into the gym, whether it's a coach, whether it's like if you're dropping off UPS or FedEx and you're stepping into the gym, I want them to be educated to prevent any type of abuse. And I mean, abuse is not the only thing that needs to be educated on and prevented in the sport, but I just want to create more spaces to help empower this younger generation, because they're what make me feel really hopeful. And I just am so impressed when I watch these young kids speak. I mean, I was watching the 7-year-old the other day speak at this rally, and I mean, she's just so incredibly well spoken, and just this younger generation impresses me so much. And so I look to them too, because they fight for things that are so much bigger than themselves, and they do everything they can to help other people. And so I just want to learn from them, and to continue to do that, and to continue to be myself and be honest, and hopefully create a space where people know that no matter what they're going through, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And yeah, I mean, I have a million ideas, but it's hard to put in. Yeah, I just want to obviously wish that everyone was, I want to create a world where everyone feels safe, but that's obviously a very hard thing to do.
But you are working for that. And thank you today for sharing your light with us. Thank you for using your voice for good. And I hope we get to talk again before our next birthday. But continue to
Yes.
be well, Allie. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.